So the KL Profile lights have really given us the ability to finely tune and control what's going on our stage, so that if there's pockets of our stage that need a little extra help or need a little extra dynamic or color, the KL Profile is perfect because we can position it exactly where we need that light to go, and we can make our stage look exactly the way that we want it to. We're not limited by the light fixture that we have. The KL Profile has really given us something that allows us to do what we want to do when it comes to lighting the stage design.
Welcome back to Church Production. I'm Marcel Patillo. Lighting a church service can be very complex. No matter if it's a big church that has to fill a big stage, or just a small church that's looking for something simple, powerful, with some great features. And recently, in an effort to help our friends over at Bell Shoals Church in Florida, we sent over some great lights from Elation for them to test in their sanctuary. But first, let's get to know our friends Andy and Tim from Bell Shoals.
My name is Andy Wingate. I am the production director here at Bell Shoals Church in Brandon, Florida.
My name is Tim LaPointe, and I'm the lead filmmaker here at Bell Shoals Church in Brandon, Florida. Yeah, so we live stream both of our services, our 9:30 service and our 11 a.m. service as well. So both of those services are live streamed to YouTube and Facebook, and then they also live on those platforms as well. And definitely, we also live stream our website. But then also our team is pretty consistently every week capturing content to put out on social media. Pretty much weekly, we're putting out like a sermon reel on Instagram. And pretty often we're putting out worship clips as well. So sometimes that's a full song that we may put up on YouTube, or it may be a clip from a song that we're putting out on Instagram or Facebook. And so when we think about our stage, we've got to think about those things, not just how's it going to look on the live stream.
The lights we sent down to Bell Shoals were the Elation KL Profile FCs. These are some great lights with a lot of cool features. They have a zoom range from 5 to 60 degrees. They have a CRI rating of 92, and they are RGBMA, which means they can reproduce any color across the spectrum. These are simply great lights, and we've been anxious to see what our friends down at Bell Shoals would think of them.
When they arrived, my first thought was like how sleek they look. Like I know like the physical look of a light fixture probably doesn't matter too much, but they struck me as like they looked modern. One thing that was really nice about it was even the user interface, the physical interface in the back of the dials and knobs with the screen and that kind of thing, just felt like the tactile feel of it was nice. It was cool.
So Bell Shoals is a big church, and that can present some big problems. If you have a big stage, and if you have a lot of people on that stage, then you need more lights to cover it all. And you can have a choir on stage, an orchestra, a band, and singers, and all with great cameras. But without good lighting, it's still not going to seem that extravagant. And Bell Shoals already has a pretty good on-stage look, but they did have some problems that these lights were really able to solve.
Well, so I ended up brainstorming with our regular lighting director and just trying to figure out different uses for them. The way that our stage is set up, it's a large stage, and so that's great in some aspects, but one of the challenges is that it requires a lot of lighting to get the effects that we want on stage. So in the center of our stage, where our choir normally sat, sometimes it's the choir, sometimes it's the band, there tended to be a black hole there, not a lot of light. Sometimes we would use plain old Lecos, Source 4s to get white light on there, but even sometimes that was too harsh, or we'd have to barn door it to get it just right, and it always just felt kind of bluff when we did that. And so one thing we had been looking for was to get a good color wash going on back there for that area. And so we tried different methods of getting that with various color pars and that kind of thing. But then once we got these the KL profiles here, it was shoe-in for that position, for getting that color on that area, because the great thing about them is they were directional. We could really aim the color there rather than it spilling over to the rest of the stage.
I think one of the unique things about filming what's happening on the stage is that there's not a whole lot of control that I have over the lighting, whereas if I'm doing an interview or something like that, there's a lot that I can set up, and a lot of control that I have over the fixtures. And so the ability, when you're filming something on stage, one of the biggest things that we look for is depth. And so to be able to have our choir stand behind our worship team, but not only that, but to have lights that are on our choir that are different from what's going on with the lighting on the front of the stage, It's really important to be able to have some contrast there and different levels of lighting, different levels of color, different dynamics, so that, the first part of the song, you might only have the front part of the stage lit where your worship leader is, but then later on in the song, when the choir comes in, that lighting comes in as well. Just being able to have that kind of stuff adds a lot of dynamics. It's really important for the storytelling that we do on the film side, and not just the live stream that we're putting out.
There's nothing like a well-lit stage with some haze going on in the room and a great sound system. And obviously, Bell Shoals has a lot of these things. But I was still very curious when we sent these lights out, how these lights might differ from the ones they have or some other lights that they were looking at.
Previously, like I said before, one of the things that we had been looking to do was create some color wash in the center of our stage, because it felt kind of like a black hole back there. Essentially, it was hard to get light in that area. We could get light there, but it was hard to get attractive light there, if that makes sense. And so one of the things that we had been trying to do was find a way to get color in that area in a directional fashion, rather than just a par, flood, wash fashion. And so once we got the fixtures in, that was one of the first things we thought to do, was to put them in that area facing towards the that center section of our stage. It's also one of the particular unique things about our stage right now is that we don't have any like fixtures like surrounding the back side of it that people stand in front of, and so it's really important to be able to get that color reflecting off of whether it's the band or the choir back there. That way in the center camera 2 shot that we have, that way it gives it some texture, gives it some depth as the speaker is talking in front of that area. So it's really helped with, like Tim said, the texture and the depth of that center shot for our camera.
Yeah, it's really added a lot of depth to, not only the live stream that we're putting out, but from my perspective as the filmmaker here, just the content that we're capturing, being able to have that kind of color and that kind of light back there. It feels like that's a part of the stage that we've been talking about for months, just trying to figure out what can we do to kind of help with that void back there. And so to be able to have that kind of depth has just really added a lot of dynamic to our shots, not only for our live stream, but also for our content that we're putting out on YouTube and social media. I mean, I think the biggest thing that the Elation fixtures give us that you can't get with like a cheaper light or something of that sort is the output, but also the amount of control that we have over that. So the ability to really fine tune that, the output, the power that's coming out of that thing, also the color. I think one of the biggest things is that, I keep saying the word control, but that's really what it comes down to, is the ability that we have to fine tune that, so that we can know in our heads this is what we want it to look like, and we can actually make it look like that.
So whenever our LD and I were getting these things set up, one thing that we really enjoyed was the gobo feature on them. So that was also something that we had considered using them for. We ended up going the direction of having them in the center as a solid wash for our choir area, but one of the things we considered was using them for gobo textures on our sidewalls, and that kind of thing. We really enjoyed the gobo functionality of those lights in particular. It was very sharp, very nice, and that kind of thing.
So often the way of the church is to do a lot with a little. And at the church I work at, Church of the City, we're about the same size as Bell Shoals, but we have almost 100 lights on stage, which some might see as just pure overkill. But I love to see at Bell Shoals how they have probably less than half the lights we have, but their look is just as top notch. And just by adding 2 extra lights, they were able to enhance their whole look and elevate their service.
So the KL Profile lights have really given us the ability to finely tune and control what's going on our stage, so that if there's pockets of our stage that need a little extra help or need a little extra dynamic or color, the KL Profile is perfect, because we can position it exactly where we need that light to go, and we can make our stage look exactly the way that we want it to. We're not limited by the light fixture that we have. The KL Profile has really given us something that allows us to do what we want to do when it comes to lighting and stage design.
to kind of piggyback off of that, one thing that we noticed with those fixtures in particular in our space was that because the space that we were trying to cover is pretty large, and the distance that we have from hanging the light to actually hitting the stage was quite far, that we really found that we had to utilize the directional tight functionality of those lights to get what we wanted. However, I do think that these lights would shine even more, pun intended, in a smaller house of worship where you can have an array of them covering your front wash. Because, like I said, one of the challenges is as your light gets farther away and the bigger the thing is, the less output you have, or the more spread out the output is. So if that were closer, then you have really even more control and more output from those fixtures.
So a big thank you to Tim and Andy and to all of Bell Shoals Church for what they're doing down in Florida. And we love partners like them who keep pushing the envelope and really continuously elevate their services with the resources that they have available. And of course, if you like videos on church production gear, everything from video to audio can be found here at the Church Production YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Definitely make sure to hit the website churchproduction.com for articles and insights on everything church production. And of course, I'm Marcel. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again soon.